We are the Hebrew Israelites. We come week in, week out to prophesy the downfall of America, which is known by many mystery names in the scriptures, from mystery Sodom to mystery Egypt to the daughter of Babylon, right? And we want to come out here also to let our people know that you are not black, Latino, or Native American or any of these proverbs or bywords that have been put on us in our captivity, but rather we are Hebrew Israelites from our respective tribes, right? Give me 2 Corinthians 11 and 22, or 22 and 11. 2 Corinthians 22 and 11, right? Because the Bible, a lot of people will say that the Bible doesn't speak of Hebrew Israelites, right? That's why Revelations 1 and 3 says, blessed is he that readeth. Because once you get into this book, you really get into the understanding of your true biblical nationality. And when I say your, I'm speaking about so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans of Negroid and Indian descent who comprise of the house of Israel, right?
2 Corinthians 11 and 22. Are they Hebrews? So am I. Are they Israelites? So am I.
See,
are they the seed of Abraham? So am I.
Hey, that's right. That's who we come out here to minister to, the seed of Abraham. Because Abraham begot Isaac, and Isaac begot Jacob, right? And the sons of Jacob are who the world today ignorantly calls, you know, by these bywords and proverbs like black, Latino, and Native American. When truly the seed of Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel, are the Israelites, right? Which are comprised of 12 tribes, right? And that's what we want to come out here to do. Let our people know that they are not so-called blacks, so-called Mexican, so-called Puerto Rican or Haitian, but rather you are the lost sheep of the house of Israel, right? Give me this real quick in Matthew 15 and 24, right? Because when Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, who the world ignorantly called Jesus Christ, was on the scene, right? He didn't come in the form of a so-called white man, but rather as a melanated man, right? With hair like wool and skin like brass, as though it's been thrown in the oven, right? And he also, when he came, he wasn't ministering into the whole world. He was doing the same thing that we're doing, you know, Lord willing, we are those men coming back in our lot. He was reaching out to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, right? You can bring out what you got.
This is Matthew 14, 15 and 24.
Cut.
But he answered and said, I am not sent but to the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Hey, the lost sheep of the house of Israel, right? We're lost because, hey, Jeremiah 17 and 4 lets us know that we fell away and we discontinued from our heritage, right? From the knowledge of who we are as a sovereign nation, right? We went into exile, scattered across the diaspora, right? Give me this in Deuteronomy 28 and 64. Scattered across the diaspora at this present time underneath the thumbs of our respective captors and oppressors, right? Calling ourselves by the names that they pushed on to us, you know, by the sword in most cases, like Christianity and Islam, right? But we're coming out to let our people know that, hey, those are false ways. From Christianity to Islam, those all come out of the Roman Catholic Church. But rather, our people need to come back into the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Holy Bible, right? This is our true constitution, right? This is the law that we're supposed to be observing in this time, right?
This is Deuteronomy 28 and 64.
Come.
I am the Lord, and the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone.
Even what?
Even wood and stone.
Hey, that wood represents Christianity. Like we were just speaking about, a false way that a lot of our people, including us, you know, were in before we came into the knowledge of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, right? We were going into plantation Christianity, observing the so-called image of a European or Edomite Jesus, right? We were not observing the dietary laws. We were eating all type of inordinate foods. We were partaking in all type of inordinate customs like Christmas and Halloween and Valentine, those feast days that we were commanded to refrain from in Jeremiah the 10th chapter, right? But now the Most High has breathed the breath of understanding into our lungs, into our minds, into our hearts, and now we're standing up and we want to give that gift of salvation to our people. But for the most part, 2/3 of our people are slated to be cut off and die in this place. Right? Give me this in Zechariah 13:8, because they're not going to want to reform. They're not going to want to conform. They're not going to want to change and subdue their own understanding. So for that, hey, they're going to taste of the second death. You know, thermonuclear annihilation if they make it to that point. Because the Most High has preserved and reserved the remnant, the so-called elect, that is going to be carried throughout this upcoming destruction, and is going to be the first fruits to inherit the kingdom to come. Right?
Zechariah 13:8. And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the Lord, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die.
Hey, it said in the land 2 parts shall be cut off and die. Right? That's who we call the 2/3. Because out of 3 parts, a majority to the tune of 66.6% is going to be cut off and die. That's why we don't come out here for the community. Right. Because as far as the masses are concerned, hey, their fate is already sealed in this place. Right? You read on.
2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the 3rd shall be left therein. And I will bring the 3rd part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined.
Hey, that's what's happening with the Lord's elect in that 1/3. Right? We're being refined right now. Right? Although we are in this flesh, that's what we're doing. We're starting to mortify our members. We're starting to get our minds out of this place, like it says in Micah 2:10. Arise and depart, for this is not your rest. Right? Because right now, with Esau pushing his jab on all nations, guess what? You won't be able to buy, sell, trade, or partake in commerce unless you actually take on this jab or take this V, right? This vaccine, right? Because the people that are going to be able to go through all of these discomforts, like not being able to work in this society without having this jab, not being able to travel or go to sporting events without having this jab. You won't be able to hop on planes. You won't be able to enroll in college, and you won't be able to even go visit, you know, people within the same city without this jab. And the main people that will be able to deal with all of the discomforts that Esau is going to be pushing on our people to try to convince them to take this jab, to intimidate them to take this jab. The only people that will be able to overcome these fleshly temptations, like it says in James 1, the Most High, he doesn't provoke anybody to lust. Right? These lusts that will be pushed on us to give us comfort in our flesh, the only people that will be able to sustain these spiritual attacks are people that have already brought their minds out of this place. People that have already separated from the ways of Babylon. When you have the ability to do it, right? A lot of people are already fasting, already praying. So in the day when they tell you that you won't be able to get food unless you take on these measures, guess what? Your flesh will already be afflicted, right? But because that's what the scriptures does. It constantly takes us on endeavors and takes us on journeys that afflict our flesh but build our spirit up. Because that's what we are trying to do in this time. Get this in 1 Corinthians 2:14. We are desiring to become new creatures. We are desiring to become spiritual men from those old carnal men that we once were. Right?
This is 1 Corinthians 2:14. But the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him. Neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned.
They are what?
They are spiritually discerned.
Go ahead.
But he that is spiritual judgeth all things, yet himself is judged of no man.
That's right. It said he that is spiritual judges all things. Right? Because we have the gift of discernment. That's what it is to become this new creature. We went from being those